All right, hey everybody, welcome to Wednesday, October 16th MakerDAO community call. This is a little bit of an exception to the rule. Usually the calls are on Tuesdays, but this week due to DevCon and the MakerDAO offsite that I actually just got back from, we decided to move the call up a day. And so, yeah, welcome. So during this call, we kind of go through a recap of the MakerDAO universe. Sometimes we have guests on. For example, Tribute was one of those guests a few weeks ago. But yeah, so in this call, we're just going to go over some of the awesome stuff that's been going on over the last couple of weeks. Fair warning, I am pretty severely jet lagged. I just walked into my house about an hour ago. But nevertheless, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have you guys listening in on the call. And for those of you that are in the call, I'm gonna paste the agenda. I managed to get a bunch on there, but I know that there's definitely a good amount of stuff in there that I missed. So if there is anything towards the end of the call that I don't cover that you think would be worth bringing up and covering in this call, definitely speak up or post it in the chat, and I'll happily talk about it and cover it and stuff. So yeah, just to catch you guys up, DevCon was from October, I think 7th to the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Well, yeah, it was basically no, sorry, it was the 10th through the 3rd. Yeah, the 8th through the 11th. Those are the right dates. And so we saw a bunch of Ethereans and DeFiers and people come from all around the world to Japan, to Osaka, just to come together and see the current state of things and hear tons and tons of really, really great presentations. Our team was there representing pretty heavily. So we actually did a bunch of talks, both in the main hall. I think there was a panel and a couple of talks, and we had a few talks in the side rooms as well. And so, because DevCon was happening, we decided to do a team-wide offsite in Osaka the days after DevCon. So if you guys have been tuning in, I guess maybe the biggest piece of news that I guess I'll just come up mention it right out of the gate is that we announced a official launch date. And actually, a better way to say it is we announced an official voting date, which is the 15th, and people are going to be voting to deploy the smart contracts, and the front ends hopefully will be going up on the 18th, if everything goes according to plan. So that's kind of the big news that came out of DevCon, and so our offsite was really great. So to give you guys a bit of an update on that, so we're about 90 plus people across 22 or 23 different countries, and so it's not every day that we get to come together and really see each other in person and work things out in person, because as you can imagine, working in a distributed organization where a ton of us are working remotely across different teams, it's definitely a challenge in and of its own right. So this offsite has been absolutely great, especially with the upcoming MCD launch. So we spent a good amount of time on the offsite doing some usual offsite things, but I think we devoted probably a full day almost exclusively to working out migration and scenarios, and thinking about the risks involved, and just having a company-wide discussion about what needs to happen internally for everything to be greenlighted. So everything has been outlined internally, and I'm really excited because yeah, it looks like this thing is gonna happen, and yeah, I would express my excitement more, but I just got off of a 14-hour plane ride. So yeah, so that's the bigger news. So I'm gonna from here go through kind of like our usual format. So we'd like to go through things that have happened in governance, some partnerships, integrations, and grants. If any of those happened in the last few weeks, I mentioned them here. I go over some of the stuff from the Maker blog, highlights from the community, uh, and real life events as well, which I actually didn't add into the agenda because I did not have time. But I guess I'll start off with some of the stuff that's happening in governance. Like usual, we had a governance poll on the 14th on Monday, and so it just started. Uh, so if you're a Maker token holder, you can go and vote what the next stability fee adjustment executive vote should be. But you should also be cognizant of the fact that there's an executive vote actually happening right now. So uh, the last governance poll that launched last Monday, which I believe was the 7th, that one won the option for lowering the stability fees by 1% to 9.5% won. So there's currently an executive vote happening to lower the stability fee to 9.5%. And so there's around 33,000 MKR there, and I think it has to beat a 40 something thousand MKR uh, uh, minimum that's currently sitting in an old proposal. And if just a really brief recap on the simplicity that is MakerDAO voting, in order for an executive vote to pass and for any actual change to happen in the system, it has to surpass the amount of MKR in the previous proposal. So either MKR holders move their MKR from the old proposal to a new proposal, or you need like basically a faction of MKR holders that can beat out the ones that are holding it and basically voting to not change it, right? So if you're voting on the old proposal, that just means you're voting for a no change in the system. And I think right now, for the executive vote to lower the stability fee to 9.5%, we're looking at around an additional 10,000 MKR that's needed for it to pass. So we will see what happens in the coming days, but additionally, tomorrow at noon, the governance poll it will be coming to an end. So actually, I might as well actually check right now to see what's happening in the governance poll since it's been running since Monday. So let's check real quick. Yeah, the vote breakdown is loading. So it looks like there's 11 unique voters though, so not a ton of engagement. But it looks like the winning option currently is yeah, it's pretty close between 8.5% and 9.5%, and yeah, it looks like an embarrassingly low amount of MKR is actually voting on it, only about 100 MKR. So it seems pretty clear that people are focused more on the current executive vote rather than the governance poll. Yeah, so cool. Uh, so for the usually so we have a Thursday governance and risk call in addition to these like Tuesday community calls. And the last couple of Thursday risk and governance calls have fallen during this entire Japan trip. So the summaries and some of the transcripts are running a bit late. So those are going to happen in the coming days. I'm going to have those out for the community pretty shortly. But I do want to give like a huge shout out to Tim Black, who's one of the members of our community, and he's been actually helping me do those summaries, and he's been doing a great job. So hopefully he'll be taking those over a little bit, and you guys will be getting summaries not just from me, but from other people. And I also want to just point this out to the community. If you guys are interested in helping, so if you're interested in helping with summaries or, uh, or really helping you with anything in governance, definitely reach out to us. There's a ton of work to do in the community, and we're always looking for people who are interested in helping. uh, and likewise, this we don't expect volunteer work. This is obviously these are things that warrant like Dai stipends and grants and stuff like that. So so definitely reach out to us if you're interested in doing some cool work. So yeah, moving on. So governance at a glance. So if you're not familiar with our governance thread, which our governance forum, which is located at forum.makerdao.com, we have a long-running thread called Governance at a Glance, and it's a really great place to find a snapshot of what's happening in Maker governance. And so I'm actually just gonna quite literally look through this thread right now and just tell you guys what's going on. A bit of a 3-point summary. Yeah, MCD is launching on the 18th. Dai has been remaining about 0.5% above the peg, so it's been sitting at above one, a little bit below $1.01, but very consistently. So it is clear that a stability fee adjustment down would be appropriate still, since the previous downward adjustments haven't fully fixed the peg. And there's arguments in the community about how uh, the peg trading slightly above $1 isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I'll leave that to MKR holders to decide. But either way, Dai remains at about 0.5% above the peg. And so we also saw a Dai supply increase over the last couple of weeks. It's been sitting pretty steadily at around 78 to 81 million, but most recently it's at around 85 million. Actually, 84.2 million as of right this second. So there's a few active discussions going on. We actually saw a couple of collateral applications posted on the forums. One of them is by a real estate security token called Fund. And so they basically put in their application, and the community, it's currently open for review. Anybody could take a look at it. Anybody can ask for clarification. Anybody could point out flaws, etc., etc. So it seems like there's quite a lively conversation going on over the last few days. So if you're interested in checking that out, definitely participate in this discussion. The other collateral application that actually was submitted a couple of weeks ago, potentially even almost 3 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, was for the status token SNT. So they presented their collateral onboarding application, and it's currently being discussed by several community members. There was another proposal in the thread by Long for Wisdom, who's one of our really active, awesome members of the community, and he is proposing these things called validation teams. So before I get into what validation teams are or how he outlines them, just to catch you guys up on governance in general, MKR holders, like a part of their job in governance is to like formally define certain roles, formally define certain teams, and define their responsibilities and what they need to do in order to effectively help govern the system. So and the need for that is because we don't really know who MKR token holders are. There needs to be kind of a public facing elected team or people doing various things like risk analyses and managing oracles, for instance. So like it's in regards to oracles, a couple of weeks ago, we had all of the oracle proposals actually passed by governance, and then the first example of this kind of specification of the role was the interim governance facilitator, which is during the interim rich, and so Long for Wisdom came out with another proposal, and it's something called a validation team. And so there's this idea that there's just a really big disadvantage to having MKR token holders validate everything produced by other teams like risk teams, oracle teams, and governance facilitators and stuff. So like having MKR holders validate things like proposals and like code that's being pushed through the executive vote, etc., etc., is kind of hard. Yeah, that's been the meme actually. Akiva is writing in the chat for those of you listening and not actually in the call. We put teams in your teams so your teams can vote on teams. Yeah, exactly. But the meme is pretty funny. But the validation team is a great way to kind of not leave anything to chance, right? So if something is being voted on, like it should have kind of a stamp of approval from somebody. And there's no guarantee that MKR token holders are actually validating anything. Like how many of them actually go and check the code in the proposal, right? And so yeah, so the idea is to have validation teams, and so Long for Wisdom in his forum post goes through uh, some arguments for it, some arguments against it, uh, a bullet point list of like what their duties would be and like the ideal way to set something like this up. So this has been a really interesting idea that I think definitely has some potential and some merit for for whether it's going to be actually useful, which I think it is. But yeah, so if you're interested in reading about that and giving some constructive feedback, helping improve the idea or the proposal, definitely come talk to us. And actually, this reminds me. So this isn't actually published anywhere, but so during DevCon, one of the things we've been working on behind the scenes, specifically Charles St. Louis from our team has been working really hard behind the scenes on, is creating a MIP process. So a maker improvement proposal process, yeah. And it's based obviously off the IPs, the Ethereum approval processes, which are actually based off of, right, like the BIPs, the Bitcoin, and even BIPs are based on like the other standardization uh, organizations of like the early internet, right? So the Maker protocol will be having a MIP process, and so there's going to be more information coming out about that in the coming weeks. But regardless, yeah, that's just something I wanted to mention that I found really cool during DevCon because uh, Charles is really knowledgeable about all of the different processes and how they've been done and the trade-offs, and I'm really excited that he's laying a pretty cool foundation for the Maker MIP process to be as kind of the best possible way that we could do it for ourselves. And I'll leave that to you guys to discuss because maybe there's stuff he misses or whatever. But yeah, regardless, that's something that's in the pipeline. Just so that you guys know. Let's see what else. Seeking consensus. Yeah, so there's still ongoing discussions about whether or not we should increase the debt ceiling for single collateral Dai. Currently, the poll is over. So we did an informed poll about this, and we're currently awaiting to move it on chain. And so I think the winning option for the poll was to do a single raise of 20 million. Let me just double check that. Is that a yes? Yeah, yeah. So there was a few different options, and actually it looks like it's three different options have like yeah, it's like 56%, 43%, and 30% of the voters. That was the distribution. But yeah, the winning one was a commitment to increase the single collateral Dai debt ceiling by 10 million each time the total supply of Dai comes within 10 million of the current debt ceiling, as detailed above. And then like the next option that almost won, it was just about 10% lower, uh, was an immediate one-time increase of the single collateral Dai debt ceiling by 20 million Dai to a total of 120 million Dai. That's what I personally voted for that. But yeah, regardless, so that's a discussion that's ongoing, and we're currently awaiting to move it on chain. I think we actually might cover it very briefly in tomorrow's governance call. Uh, but again, yeah. So yeah, there. Scratch the butt again. No butt again. Some ongoing initiatives. So there's signaling guidelines. So this is kind of old stuff that I don't need to reiterate now. So Long for Wisdom actually also came out with a this thing called the Forum Tag Index, and it's to improve community members' ability to discover old conversations. So we've been working, mainly Long for Wisdom has been working on a project to properly tag various posts throughout the forum. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that's going on in the land of governance. Uh, but I want to make just a point. So tomorrow is going to be the Thursday governance call, and I think that the governance calls, uh, basically from now till launch and after launch, are going to be very important. So if you're an MKR token holder, I highly recommend that you join those calls. We're going to be talking about a lot of the nuance of the mainly migration, and also the responsibilities and expectations that maker holders should have, even post launch. So there's going to be, there's going to be two maker DAOs basically for some amount of time, and there's going to be two Dai pegs that MKR token holders need to manage. Uh, and so yeah, definitely tune in to the call tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting discussion. So, all right, that's about it for governance. And feel free to ask questions if you're in the call. If you have a mic, hop right on. And if you don't, just type it in, and I'll happily read it out loud, or one of you guys could read it out loud, and we could talk about it. All right. So moving forward, then, so some partnerships, integrations, grants stuff. It's mostly just. Hey, Bo, what's up?
Hey, sorry, I
No,
have a
no,
quick
it's
question. I
cool.
didn't
I
mean to
don't mind
interrupt
being
you.
interrupted.
Um, I
Sorry, you're cutting
first
out. I'm not
of all
hearing
hope
you.
you're doing well. Was just
Bo,
gonna
you're
ask. So I just want to
yeah, go for
confirm.
it.
I
Mhm.
understand, like during the transitional period, there will be.
No worries. Oh, David, I got the Burner Factory stickers in the mail today.
Oh, perfect. I'll message you.
Yeah. Message me.
We'll find out some way to pick
All
those
right,
up using that Waterloo.
Yeah, right on, right on. Yeah, so Bo, you were saying.
okay. I'm back. Yeah, sorry. We just moved offices, and I haven't figured out where the sweet spots for reception are yet.
Nice, nice.
Anyway, so I just want to make sure I understand. So during the transitional period, from Dai to multi-collateral Dai, there will essentially be two MakerDAOs, two Dai pegs.
Hmm.
MKR is still a singular token. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
So it'll be
correct.
the singular token governing both systems.
Yeah, exactly. And so the way it's practically going to play out is you're still going to be able to use a singular dashboard. So like the foundation's front end for the voting dashboard is it's gonna have tags for the proposals that are on single collateral DAI and multi collateral DAI. So and it's using the same DS chief. So it's pretty seamless from the side of from
Wait,
governance. So
Can
it's
you
not going to be
vote
too
on?
hard.
Can you vote on both? So let's say, there's two. There's a stabilization poll for single collateral and one for multi. Can you use essentially the same MKR token on both polls?
Like overlapping, right?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. That's a question that I'm gonna actually write and get back to you on. Uh,
Okay.
but I encourage you to come on the call tomorrow and ask that, because tomorrow I believe guys like Chris Bradbury, who's like on the products team, along with like a lot of other people from the team, are going to be on. So they'll probably be better equipped to answer you specifically.
Okay. Cool.
I'm
Yeah, I'll
just not
try to
sure on
jump
the
on.
technical. Yeah, I'm just not sure on the technical like limitations. My
That makes
understanding
sense.
is that it's the same DS chief, and that you would be able to overlap. But yeah, don't take my word for it.
Got it.
I,
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to get on. I always jump on when I can during our lunch, but sometimes not
uh,
able to. But thank you. I
well,
appreciate it.
I'll happily ask the question if nobody does, because that is something that that should be documented, and like that should be that should be something that anybody should be able to answer, right? So that's definitely an important question. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking. All right, cool. So moving forward then, so just a couple of like partnership stuff. So Coinbase Custody actually now supports Maker governance. They came out with a pretty sleek UI, and then they also came out with an article about the technical details of how they like what their solution is and how it works. So check those out if you're interested. I put them in the agenda document, and if you're watching along on YouTube, you could just go down into the description and actually have a link to the agenda document. It is kind of like an archive of all of the agendas of all of the community meetings, pretty much for the last like few months at least. So just search up the October 16th date, and you should be able to find the link to the Coinbase custody, and basically you'll be able to find links to almost anything I mentioned in this call. So definitely check that out. So yeah, so Coinbase custody now supports Maker governance, which is really really cool. That actually opens up like larger token holders that are using Maker custody to like hold their MKR. You know, it provides a custodial solution while enabling you to vote. So it's really great for funds and for kind of more institutional type investors rather than individuals. So we hope that this actually increases voter turnout, and we're really excited that that happened. And then next, we saw that once we announced multi-collateral Dai, Compound put out a really short piece about their support for it and how that's going to work. I didn't read through any of these articles. I just know that they were posted, but read through them if you're interested in the details. So yeah. So besides that, there's no big partnerships. I think I saw also that another auditor company, I think it was like Blockchain Science, that they now accept Dai as payment. But yeah, I think those are the only three this for the last couple of weeks. All right, cool. So, so some stuff from the Maker blog. So Oasis Trade is live. So this happened a couple weeks ago. As many of you know, in the community, Oasis, kind of was shut down for a brief period of time, so that it could be reworked. And like, yeah, basically ETH to Dai replaced it for a while, but now Oasis Trade is back, and if you check it out, it's pretty sleek. It's pretty much the same thing, except I'm sorry, except also there's an instant like swap feature there as well. So if you guys remember, what was it? Oasis Instant, or I forgot how the front end was called before, but basically you have that swap feature that's so handy that you don't have to actually put in a limit order or anything like that. You could just do market orders. So yeah, you could trade using Oasis Trade now, and this is part of like a bigger thing that's happening with the Oasis brand in general. So Oasis is going to be kind of the foundations, front ends for both the DEX venue, where hopefully all the collateral, uh, uh, all the new collaterals and all the stuff, they're gonna have a venue for liquidity there. So it'll be kind of like a really great place for people that use MCD to also find markets for their relevant assets. But there's also going to be an Oasis Borrow and an Oasis Save. And the idea behind Oasis Borrow is that you could lock your tokens as collateral. Basically, Oasis Borrow will end up being the CDP portal. So everything is basically going to be under Oasis, so that it's a lot clearer to the community what's the foundation's front ends. And the importance of that is, we want to encourage the community and others to really create and use third-party CDP portals. Like, CDP portals are important. Decentralizing access to CDPs is important, and so the foundation is taking the approach of putting it all under the Oasis brand. So we're gonna have the DEX, we're gonna have the CDP portal, And we're also going to have Oasis Save, which is the DSR. Earn savings on your Dai by locking it into Oasis Save, automatic and non-custodial. So these are the borrow and the save are two front ends that are going to be likely launched on the 18th if the vote and everything passes. So yeah. So that's just kind of a bit of an update for the product strategy of Oasis and just the strategy of how we present the front ends to the community going forward with MCD and everything. Besides that, we saw probably one of my favorite reports, which I haven't gotten to read yet, but I will read. But if you guys have been around for the last half a year or so, we've been putting out this report called Dai in Numbers, and it's a quarterly report, and it covers a ton of stuff. Basically, the statistics around Dai activity, like what Dai is being used for, who holds it. Basically a bunch of stuff Dai related. And so for Q3, I believe there was actually, let me see if I can find like one summarizing sentence. Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff here. Yeah, so basically there's some growth happened. But I'll let you guys read the article to figure out exactly how much growth happened. Because I don't know off the top of my head. I should read, but I did not have time today. So moving forward. What else from the Maker blog? Oh yeah, there was the breaking launch date of multi-collateral Dai, the Dai savings rate, and more announced at DEF CON 5. So that was just the art that's just the blog post that we put out when we actually announced the date at DEF CON. Yeah. So all right, so that's it kind of for the partnerships and the Maker blog stuff. I'm gonna cover highlights from the community next, and actually a handful of cool things happened. So for one, there was a $50,000 bug bounty given to the user Lucash Dev for finding a critical vulnerability in the MCD contracts, specifically relating to auctions. And actually, it's really great because the same bug was independently found by two other auditors almost at the same time. So there's going to be a little bit more details on that coming, but lucky for Lukash, he found it first and he disclosed it first, and so he reaped the reward of that HackerOne bug bounty that we're running right now on MCD contracts. And so that bug bounty is still alive. You can find out more by going on, I think, hackerone.com and then just looking for the Maker bug bounty. Actually, how do you find it? I can post the link a little later, but yeah, basically the bug bounty is still going and it's working as intended. And it's really, yeah, really cool that this guy found this bug, amongst others. So that's really great. So besides that, so Mike McDonald, the guy who did Maker.tools, the dashboard, he posted on Twitter this morning. I just saw that somebody is clearing, aka biting all of the little CDPs. So there's been this long running discussion in the community about these like dust CDPs. And even if they're under collateralized, like it's not profitable to bite them. And so if enough of them like persist to exist, then that's like kind of a vulnerability if like there's enough of them. And there's no incentive to actually bite them because like on an individual level it's just not worth it. And so yeah, but somebody has been altruistically kind of clearing them all up and biting all of them. So that's pretty cool. And then besides that, I wanted to highlight Cyrus's tweet storm about MCD. So right after we announced the launch, Cyrus posted a nine tweet thread about some of the main changes that are going to be happening with MCD. So I encourage you guys to check out that tweet thread if you want kind of like a brief summary of the practical differences. And then also, so I mentioned this on the last community call, but I do want to mention it again. We launched a referral bounty Uh, yeah, referral bounty for the Maker Community Meetup Grants Program. So if you don't know what that is, basically we are trying to give people money for overhead on doing like community-led events. So if you're interested in doing a local event, that's it doesn't have to be purely MakerDAO. It could be DeFi related. You could have guests. Like we just want to kind of seed our community to do more events. And so the goal of the referral bounty is that you can earn, I think it was 30 Dai or something like that, if somebody actually uh, files for a micro grant, gets it, and like hosts the event. And if they listed you as the referral, if that's how they found out about the program, you get a free 30 Dai. And listen, man, that's 30 tickets on pool together. Just saying. And all you have all you have to do is tell somebody about it. So yeah, and the goal for this is, it's really hard to directly find people who are interested in doing events, but if you know somebody specifically, it's a really bounties are a really great tool to kind of like get that second circle that I don't have direct connections to. So we're trying to get the word out about the program, and it's a super simple application. It's like five or 10 minute application to fill out, but we are really keen on helping the grassroots sort of community meetups happen. They're a really great way for people to connect. They're a really great way for people to get educated, uh, and generally speaking, we find them pretty wholesome. So yeah, if you want to earn some Dai, refer a friend. For developer creations, I didn't put anything there, but actually, David Mihal is here, and we did something pretty cool at DevCon. So I don't know if David, we could talk about Burner Factory a little bit if you want. Well, actually, we could talk about how I lost a bunch of Dai.
That was an adventure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can. I mean, part of why I joined is I kind of wanted to hear if there were any updates or anything from DevCon since I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No major updates. Just MCD launching. Yeah. That's about it.
Follow that, yeah.
Yes. So David is one of the guys behind the Burner Factory burner generator like site. So it's a really cool tool that he's been developing along with who else has been working on it with you? It's you, it's Alex.
Yeah, for DevCon, it kind of was me, Alex, Carl, and Amy. We're kind of working
Right.
on getting something together for you guys for DevCon.
Right.
The project started. There's a lot of collaboration with Austin Griffith at the beginning. He's been busy with a lot of other stuff, but he's still definitely kind of part of the community, and a number of other people too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so the idea behind the Burner Factory is to have kind of like this one website where you can actually do everything from like creating a batch of wallets to actually doing the airdrop, to like, getting the QR codes on a PDF file for yourself. So having all of that kind of in one place so that anybody can do burner wallets. That's kind of the idea for the Burner Factory. And so we kind of tested the first functional version at DevCon, and day one was a total disaster. We totally, I personally just fucked up. I was just not prepared, and there was some UI stuff. But day two was great. Day two worked, and so what we did was we actually put up two tablets with two different QR codes. We had Ching on each of those tablets, so we used the Ching POS, which is actually one of our grantees, to give people the option to purchase or actually donate the Dai that we were giving out to one of two different organizations. One of them was UNICEF France, and the other one, I'm blanking. It was a Mexican children's hospital, and so I forgot the exact name of it, which is bad. I need to remember things like that. But regardless, we got around 380 or 400 something Dai between the two of them donated, and so we actually were giving out the Dai from the old Denver burner. So yeah, we didn't actually end up airdropping to the batch that I created on Burner Factory, but we did we definitely used Burner Factory to help people redeem the Denver burner wallets. So so yeah, it was pretty cool. We raised a little bit of money for these two orgs, and it was really cool getting something like I think it was like 60 or 70 people to do a transaction with a burner wallet, and it's literally like a 3-minute process. You know, you scan a QR code and it just loads into your phone with like crypto. It's like one of the coolest freaking things. And I know people have raved about burners for a while, but like even at DevCon, people were coming up and they were like they, you know, some many of them, actually most of them, didn't never use the burner, even though they've heard about it. So when they used it, they were like, oh wow, like this is super, like this has like some real potential. uh and uh and so yeah, it was really cool having that little bit of tech demo at DevCon at our booth for those days, for that day actually, because we only had one day that it was working uh out of the 2 days that we had at the booth. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, glad you got it working at least for that last day.
Yeah. uh
And I'm talking to the guys at ETH Global on Friday, so hopefully we're doing continuing this progress and doing some more cool burner stuff at ETH Waterloo.
Nice. Yeah, that would be really cool. And then like so I hinted at the fact that I lost a bunch of Dai. And so I'm gonna come out and confess that I managed to send the wrong address to my boss, to Rich. And so a really interesting thing happened. So we actually were attacked. So we were like, there was a way to recover the funds from this address. It was the contract address for dispersing funds on the XDAI network. So David crafted together like a solution to recover them, and we were actually front run by somebody who was like monitoring vulnerable contracts, and it's totally bizarre. And like the few people that I showed like our messages to, because like you explained it on a high level, like I have no idea the technical details of like how that attack worked. They were all just like wow, like that's like some Blade Runner shit, like that literally is like, that sucks, but that's so cool at the same time, you know.
That was pretty much how I felt too. It was
Yeah.
never had expected. Basically the vulnerability came from, I was generating this contract that would would have the funds in it and had to move them out of there. And I kept it kind of open because I was mostly worried about making a mistake and
Uh-huh.
somehow the funds getting further locked in that contract.
Right.
And I was like, well, between that contract deploying and the funds getting moved, it'll only be like a block or two. Like, didn't
Right.
think didn't think someone was gonna snipe that transaction.
Oh, and
You
they
know,
sniped it. Oh, they earned that die. They earned that die.
yeah, can't even
Okay.
be that. And it looks like it's crazy watching that contract because they're stealing from plenty of people. And there's like
Really?
there's comments on Etherscan because you can comment on an address. And there's people going like, hey, can you give me back my
Oh my
money?
god.
Like one person was like, if you don't give me back, I'm gonna get the police involved. And I was like, yeah, good
Wow.
luck with
Wait,
that.
wait, so these are all people that accidentally sent their die to this contract address?
No. This is the attacker's address. So basically, the attacker's running
Oh.
some script
Uh-huh.
that's finding these vulnerable contracts and ciphering
I got
money,
it.
front running other people. And you can see like some of them fail because I guess the front running doesn't work, but a lot of them work. And he's got there's a lot of money in this contract.
Yeah.
And it goes right in one transaction. It takes the DAI or any token and puts it into Uniswap, and then he keeps the ETH. So it's kind of fascinating because
Not
you
a
can.
bad way to earn your lunch. Not a bad way to earn your lunch.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's all transparent. You can see everything he's doing.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I would really love to see a write up. Obviously, I know you're busy as hell, so don't expect it
I,
to, like, if you do a write up, let me know, because I would love to like read about the technical details of how that even happened.
I,
Like, it just baffles me.
yeah, I actually started one. Maybe I'll try to finish that up because again, I thought it was fascinating. So
Yeah, it
I'll
was
definitely let you know.
every single person I spoke to, even like Nick, like our head of smart contracts, like Lawrence, our head of JS, like they were both like, "Wow, like what the fuck?" Excuse my language. But yeah, cool. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a fun story about developer creation at DevCon this week. So all right, onwards. Just a couple more articles that I highlighted. I'm sure there were more in the last 2 weeks, but I either didn't save them appropriately or didn't see them. But the first one was by DeFi Savers. So they came out with an article called "The New Maker: What's Changing and How Do I Get on Board?" And it's obviously in reference to multi-collateral Dai. And then Mosendo also did a similar article, and Mosendo actually also did a brief, like 3-minute or 4-minute informational video, which was really great. What was that, Andrew? Dude, that looks like food. Cool. Andrew, I can't hear you, but if you're saying something, you're muted now. And you're
Yeah, I was ordering food. My bad.
oh, okay. All right, bye.
Yes.
All right, sweet. All right, cool. Yeah. So and then are you good? All right. He's good. I assume he's good. Okay, cool. So yeah. So the other article was Masendo, Don't Lose Your Dai, the how, why, and what guide to the new MakerDAO. And yeah, besides that article, they also had I forget the guy's name, their head of DeFi. I think it actually, yeah, Clayton Roshi. So Clayton did a brief, like 3 or 4 minute video that was pretty accurate on what CDP users can expect, what Dai users can expect, and then like what Dai users who hold their Dai in exchanges can expect. And also a call to act, Instadap or any other third-party CDP portal. There's kind of an extra step you have to take to migrate. But again, the migration details are still not completely out, but they will be coming out in the coming weeks. And so expect a lot more information, even from the foundation itself, on the proper kind of ways to go about migration as a user. So yeah, real life events. Actually, I did not fill out this whole section, so I'm gonna skip events for this call. We got like about 7 minutes left, so I just want to point out one other thing about the single collateral Dai to multi collateral Dai upgrade. So I believe on the 18th or maybe sooner, we're going to be and leading up until that date, we're going to be reaching out to many partners, many people that have Dai integrated exchanges, etc., and we are pushing them to rename single collateral Dai as Psi, so that multi collateral Dai will be called Dai. And so, just a heads up, this might not be consistent across everywhere, at least in the first week or two, but we hope to get buy-in from like the hundreds of integrations that we have, and it's kind of a Herculean effort by our integrations team to get the word out. But we are working pretty hard to make this distinction very clear to our community and to developers in the space and everything. But yeah, single collateral Dai is Psi, and multi-collateral Dai is Dai. But yeah, and so that distinction is going to be solidified in the coming weeks. Yeah, cool. What was that?
What collateral types are going to be for the first? What collaterals are going to be in the first
I
McDai?
I believe the article said that governance is going to vote to have BAT in there. I think it also said ZRX, but I think ZRX is not going to happen because ZRX's token economics are changing and just some stuff is changing that just doesn't make sense for governance to even want to add it. But either way, like it all depends on the votes that are going to be happening in the coming weeks. So my best guess is probably that it's just going to be ETH and BAT, but but stay tuned. So that's not, yeah, that's totally my own intuition, not any official thing or anything.
All right, cool.
Yep. All right, right on. So we got like 5 minutes to spare. Happy to end the call 5 minutes early so I could go to the sauna and then go get some lunch because I just got off of a 14-hour flight.
Mm.
All right.
It was first class though.
I was not in first class. I was in coach. We were all in coach. we're all dedicated to being
Darn.
responsible, fiscally responsible. All right, cool. Well, pleasure. This was a chill community call. Thank you guys for coming on. And for those of you listening, again, the agenda is located in the description, and I'm gonna post it around. But yeah, see you guys next Tuesday. Take care.